seconds. So hit the go live in 10 seconds. And I'd like to welcome all of you to Tuesdays with Peter. I am Peter, and you are you. One of my new favorite quotes from Dr. Seuss is that you are youer than you. No one's youer than you. And there's no one in the world that is better at being you than you. I'm making that an awful rendition of Dr. Seuss, but welcome to this Tuesday, special Tuesday. We've got Mark here as our guest contributor, chapter 7. And we'll get to Mark in just a moment. But these sessions are about being positively brilliant. This is about an exercise and an exploration of who am I as a human being? Why am I here? What am I doing? Am I living my life according to how my creator created me or not, or to what extent? And to support you to be able to have that sense of, I am at choice of being who my creator made me to be or not. And I have that free will. And I have society and all the other things that impact me being me or me showing up as me. And so today, let me get into my whiz-bang PowerPoint here. And we look at there we go. Your life affirming attitudes. This is something that you can choose as an individual human being. You are at choice. These are not hardwired. These are ones that I can choose to be or not to be on any given time, any given day, any given week. And the attitude that we're exploring today is you love and accept who you are right now. Now, that's not the way that I grew up. It's an attitude that I have crafted or chosen at, I'll say, midlife at this stage. Because as a kid, I wasn't good enough. I had to learn more. My parents were very big on education. So it was this idea of, you're growing into who you are supposed to be. And so there's more improvement. There's more this, that, or the other that I have to do. I have to get smarter. I have to be more socially adept. I have to be more cognizant and honoring of my elders. Okay. And this attitude is a departure from that programming that I grew up with. And the attitude that I'm going into now is one of, I get this, back to this. Just a second, I just got my screens messed up here. And I'm okay just the way I am right now. It's an ongoing thing. Okay. So you love and accept who you are right now. I accept who I am right now. The good, the bad, the ugly, the confusion, the whatever might be happening in my life, I accept myself the way I am right this minute. So I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from the book. I don't read the whole chapter, but just kind of give you a flavor of what's inside this principle number 7. It's principle number 7. And then we'll have our awesome Mark Carignan, who has joined us today, to read his story that he contributed back, 10 years ago? No, more than that. Anyhow, in 2008. So, my love of quotes. I love this quote. The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. Wow. And it goes back to, yeah, I'm at choice. I have been given the privilege, the ability to choose my attitude moment by moment. Greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. William James. Thank you, William. All right, so here's what I wrote about this back in 2008. And this is still under the section 2, your creative human nature. In my human nature, I have the capacity to hold and change beliefs and attitudes. So this is my current definition of life mastery. I love and accept who I am right now. Can you imagine living in a constant attitude that you love and accept yourself in this moment, and now in this moment, and, well, you get the idea, right? Maintaining this attitude has been fleeting for me. It comes and goes. I've noticed this attitude is vulnerable to the caustic environments around me, and for that matter, within my own critical mind, that reinforce I'm not enough yet, or I should be aspiring to ... I'll be more lovable when ... I suspect I'll be practicing that art of returning to this attitude for the rest of my life. That's been true, by the way, for the last 10 years or 12 or 14 years since I've written this. Or perhaps I could embrace the idea that I will not be in the perpetual mindset of I love and accept who I am right now, and just go ahead and love and accept myself right now, even when I'm not loving and accepting who I am right now. Now, that's a life affirming attitude with attitude. I am human. I embrace it. I am perfectly imperfect. I make mistakes. I forget who I really am. I lose track of my values, purpose, and gifts. Big deal. Welcome to the human experience, Peter. I have an insatiable curiosity. I love to learn, grow, explore, and evolve. I am fascinated by the world I live in. I laugh and cry as I connect with people I have never met when I hear or see their stories. Yes, this too is part of the human experience, my human experience. When I fully experience this attitude of I love and accept who I am right now, I absorb the fullness of my life. I literally increase my capacity to love and accept myself every time I bring this attitude into my mind and body. Okay. So this is just a great reminder for me, even in the moment. I don't know if I've read that whole text in the last 10 years. And so it's like, yeah, Peter, remember, this is who I am. This is my capacity as a human being to be able to do this for myself. So like I said, Mark has joined us, and it's great to reconnect, Mark. I'm going to put up his script for the story, Am I Too Different to Be Loved, by Mark Carignan. So welcome, Mark. I'm going to invite you to go ahead and read along with this, or read it from the book in front of you, either way that works for best for you. But welcome to the session today, and thank you for gracing us.
Thanks, Peter. It's great to be here, and thanks for that touching intro. It's a great reminder as well about what I'm about to read and what led me to write it. I was questioning some of that same narrative this morning. So who am I to have such an attitude? So I'll read. Am I too different to be loved? What if somebody really gets to know me? Will people I love still love me if they know the real me? Thoughts like these used to run through my mind every day as I continually doubted who I was, what I was worth, and where I would be allowed to go in life. And the answer to the real me question in my mind was always no. I knew I was different from other children. I thought this difference, which I couldn't really describe at the time, was something unusual. In my teens, I discovered the difference that I had felt deep inside years before. Due to my strict religious upbringing, I could not share this knowledge with my friends and family. I had already received the word on the topic from my church. What was that discovery? That I was a gay man. The biggest problem about being gay was not the comments, intolerance, and lack of understanding from others, but those same negative thoughts about myself that I had internalized, an internal or inner homophobia that was running rampant in my mind and in my heart. I was living in pain and in fear, thinking and feeling it every day. I was overcome with fear of not belonging, of being alone, but mostly fear of not being loved or even lovable. It didn't take long for me to turn to food as comfort. I became the fat kid in school. By high school, I had added alcohol to the mix. These substances allowed me to escape my negative feelings, at least for a while, and they became an addiction. At the time, I had no idea that I could be a gay man and positively brilliant at the same time. My change of heart started by releasing this negative self-talk as not the truth, but simply some people's opinions. Little by little, I began to see myself as a person worthy of the same respect as any other person. Over time, this grew into the knowledge and acceptance of my fuller self, and that I had a unique set of gifts, talents, and purpose. I started believing that I was truly a magnificent expression of the divine. I am a courageous, loving, magnificent man who celebrates his divinity, authenticity, and joyously creating an environment that allows others to acknowledge and celebrate their divinity as well. I now consciously live each day in gratitude, starting each morning, or most mornings, with time to reflect on the appreciation I have for my life and the way that I am, beautiful, magnificent, and gay. I focus on the positives in life, look for the best in others, and am patient with myself when I don't perform to my highest potential. I am now attracting more wealth, health, and amazing relationships in my life, including a beautiful, passionate man I now love and I've been with for over 15 years. Fear still creeps in, but my conscious awareness of it allows me to change my thinking and focus on the truth. And that is, I am perfect just the way I am right now. When I focus on this truth coming from a place of love, acceptance, and trust, there is no longer any room for fear. And in those moments, and then hopefully all moments, all I need to do is remember this truth.
Wow, wow, wow.
Thinking back to when I wrote that, and how that has manifested in the last 14, 15 years. So.
Woohoo!
Thanks.
Wow. So yes, as you read that and reflect on that, how does that strike you in terms of that change of attitude to, you know what? I am spectacular. I am the representation of the divine right now, no matter what other people think.
It's really about acceptance and permission, giving myself the permission in a way. It's, growing up in a world where I felt like I always needed permission, where I always needed to have that to be accepted. If I'm still connected to that world. So why not give myself permission? Give myself permission to accept myself the way I am, when things are going great, when things are going not so great. Just, what a reminder, it's like this is the journey that everyone has their own journey. And I think this journey that I'm on right now has helped open me up to the journeys that others are going through. I feel like I can be much more empathetic, even sympathetic with others because of my own struggles, because it hasn't always been easy. And even when it looked easy, these days we look at, a lot of differences. We look at, racial differences and all sorts of other differences. And, in some ways I sort of skated by as a white man. And I sort of like that idea for some amount of time, right? So all I have to do is change the pronouns. Like I don't talk about, my boyfriend, I talk about them. It's the whole pronoun game. I did this pronoun game long before it became popular, so, but looking back, it got me much more introspective, and allowed me then to be more accepting and understanding and open. I think open to different people's journeys, and that everybody has a journey, and none of them are easy. So
yeah, it's a human experience, no matter how you're packaged.
Well said. How you're packaged.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's two themes that come out as you're sharing that, Mark, and it's one of operating from the inside out, as opposed to from the outside in, the outside views, the outside perspectives, the outside beliefs, the outside of here's how you are supposed to be, and here's how you're supposed to live life. Mm-hmm. And trying to react to that, trying to come into a norm of the external world's definition of whatever their norm might be. And it changes from location to location too, obviously, because these people think you should be this way, these people think you should be this way, and so on and so forth. But the transition that I heard very strongly in terms of the writing and in the reflection of it is, what if I come from the inside out? What if I honor who that is, who I am, first and foremost? And then all the other ones, they may not drop off completely, but they have a whole lot less impact on my accepting myself. And the other one that is kind of tangential to that I heard you talk about is when I can do that for myself, or as I did that for myself, I become more compassionate about other humans' journeys and other humans' issues about what they're struggling with. So does that resonate? I mean, is that, am I hearing that correctly in terms of your experiences?
Yeah, I like that you said from the inside out. That was actually the name of the book that I wrote. My first book I wrote, Leading from the Inside Out. That was actually the title. It's interesting. Yeah, if I don't need to look outside for acceptance, for approval, for permission, mm-hmm. That's freeing. And I still feel, because of my background or because of the way my mind is wired or whatever, that I do need permission. So why not give it to myself? And that took a while to get to, so it's sort of like, I'd like to do it without permission, but somehow my mind wants permission. So why not give it to myself? It's sort of like a way to rationalize it. And I feel like the more I accept my flaws and my, let's just call them differences, my inability to always live up to my highest self, but my desire and nearly constant striving toward being that. But, it's, as you said, it's a human experience. It's some days we're on and some days we're not, I think, and if I can remember that, it starts from the inside. If I can accept myself for who I am, the entire package, as you call it, which I like. I'm going to borrow that, the whole package. It's so much easier to accept other packages, because, there's always nice parts of a package. Every package has some nice glitzy, glossy, pretty areas, and then there's some rough edges, right? And that's the package. So I like that.
Oh God. Can you imagine a world, Mark, that everyone loves themselves and doesn't have to judge everybody else around them, that they're not like them? I mean, can you imagine a world that operates that way or from that place?
I got shivers when you said that. It feels like what we're here to experience, or what we're here to work with. I mean, this is all we have. I mean, we have stuff. I mean, we're so blessed in this society, and certainly, growing up in the Western world for me, so much stuff, so much available, just so much, too much, honestly, too much. It's distracting. It's distracting from what's really important, which is, who am I? And who am I in the world? And who am I to others? I mean, I think you can just put a period there. I think all the other stuff is nice, and it's comfort, and it's convenient. But, one of the reasons I left the Western world, and I now live in South America, is because I just couldn't take the Western values anymore. It was just against my inner belief. And yes, I could have stayed there and still done that. But why not go where I feel more comfortable, where I feel that I can be myself, that I'm not always fighting upstream, that I'm not fighting every narrative and every media article and every person's uninformed, media repetition, where somebody's just spouting what they're hearing on the news, and it must be true because I heard it, right? It's the talking head on TV said it, so it must be true, and we must be at war, and we must be fighting with each other. It's like, I'm not fighting. I don't want to fight. I want to connect. I want to understand. I want to experience. So I get to do that. I live part-time in Mexico and part-time in Uruguay, and I get to experience a different life. And yeah, there's a lot of Western influence, but it doesn't feel like this constant battle here. And maybe that's just a new place for me, but I think it goes beyond that. It goes to a different culture.
Yeah.
And it's one that I feel that right now is better for me. So that's one of the things that I've done to change.
Amen. Hallelujah. I remember a quote from Mother Teresa when she visited the United States, I think for the first time is the way I remember the quote being relayed to me, that, for a country that is so rich, it's the poorest one I've ever visited. And I think it goes directly to what your experience that you're talking about right now, is that all of the perks, if you want to call them that, again, from the external mindset that we have available to us as Americans growing up in this country. And yet, in my work, I've yet to come across someone that absolutely knew who they were deep down inside themselves, to the point where that was their Geiger counter. That was not Geiger counter, but their GPS. And so they had a sense of who they were, but it had all been tainted, if you will, or put there by their external trappings. I'm a rich white guy. I am a middle-class white guy. I'm a woman that's growing up in the South. I'm a this, that, or the other in this country. And then we have so many shiny things around us that, oh boy, I want the next iPhone. I want the next new car. I want the next new girlfriend. I want the next new whatever it is that, that part of life, said that's what I should have. I should have the next Gucci bag. The one I've got is just old. It's 18 months old. That's the old season. It's like, really? What's going to make your life happy is the next Gucci bag. I just, and I've never been in a Gucci bags, by the way. So I'm just, again,
I couldn't tell one from the other, but I get your point.
Oh, God. And then to take conscious decision. I love that you said, okay, so I'm better. I live more consciously in Mexico and Uruguay.
Mhm.
The culture is less cluttered with the externals, or the culture of those locations and parts of the world that support me to be me. Thank you very much. And that's why I'm here, and I want to connect with other people that want to be themselves. Hip hip hooray for everybody, rather than being caught up in the whatever the media or social media is trending. Who cares? Hopefully this channel and this whole broadcast is about, what if we trended in terms of how could I be more of myself today? Let's talk about that. What turns you on? What are you learning about? What are you excited about? And so maybe those are good questions for you. And again, like a good coach, that just stacked 4 questions in a row.
Big one.
I can't exactly. I keep doing that. So what are you excited about nowadays, Mark?
Oh my gosh. I'm excited about what I feel is a greater sense of freedom here. Freedom. Over the last 2 years, we've gotten, if we were paying attention, and most people, I believe, were not, but if we were paying attention, we got to see where freedom actually lies right now in the human-created governments and civilizations that we've created, because it's not just one. There's different cultures, there's different value systems. Both Mexico and Uruguay never shut down one business. They never made it impossible to do what you need to do for you and your family to survive. They never took away that dignity, that self responsibility, that opportunity to exercise that level of freedom, where virtually every Western country has and continues to control. I don't see it getting better. When governments have power, they hate to release it. That's just the history of the world until they collapse. And that's the history of the world too. So no, these places aren't perfect, not close to it. I do find myself, though, appreciating what I do have here more, which is really weird. I guess it's great, but like we hardly throw anything away. We're like, I wonder if I can reuse this, or I wonder how I can reuse this, or this could be useful. I'm going to store it for a while in case it'll be useful. And these could be like plastic bottles to, I don't know, something that looks like a tool that I might be able to use and not have to buy one later. It's like, I could use that later. That I have 3 old nails that I found. Well, I want to keep those because I might have to, put them in a floorboard somewhere to fix it up because, I may not be able to have it. Some of these places, importing that stuff is more difficult and it's expensive, right? And so, it's like honoring what I've been given, and yes, I could say, well, I earned it, I bought it, I received it, but it's really all a gift. It's really, I've been given this. Yes, I have the ability to trade service or what I create for something in return, which is, honestly, how we can all live worldwide in harmony. If we just stay in economic connection, we don't have to agree on anything else. Like what's happening in Russia and Ukraine and the whole world turning against Russia and all this, wherever you stand on that equation. The worst thing we can do as a civilization is to cut a group of people out of the equation. And whoever's right or wrong, it's not the people, it's the governments, it's the leaders, right? And so we're going to exclude tens of millions of Russians, for example, on this, touchy subject. about just being able to trade. Why are we doing that? You know, why are we preventing people from getting the food they need? And because that will happen. You know, how we, or basic goods, or you know, freedom of travel. You know, I mean, I've been collecting citizenships and residences for the last few years because I don't know and don't trust most governments, what they're going to do and what's going to be their next play, because they're like addicts, right? They're control addicts. And so I want to find a path that, look, I'm not for standing and fighting when it makes sense, but I can't fight the US government. You know, I can say things and then I'll be taken off social media, or I can, you know, I can barely do that, right? I can talk to friends, I can share my point of view and see if it resonates with others, and create communities of like-minded, and still accept others' points of view. And, you know, I think that's what we're here to learn from each other, in my view. But to also be true to ourselves, whatever that is. And I don't think that's fixed. I think we continue to evolve and grow if we want to, if we choose to. And many don't, and that's their path. But I want to. I want to understand. You know, I'm learning Spanish so I can better connect with people in Latin America. And I'm about intermediate now, so I can do everyday conversations. I'd like to get to the point where I have deep conversations. Like what does it matter? You know, like, what's life about for you? You know, and that's hard to do if you're just at the intermediate level. So that's my next goal. How do I really understand like their culture? And if you don't understand a language well, I think it's impossible to learn the culture, like truly understand it, because culture is wrapped into language and it's wrapped into history. Yeah. And so, you know, it's such an opportunity. So I guess to net it out, I would say, you know, I love adventure. I love change. I also like some stability. So I like to have a balance. Yeah. So by calling Uruguay home right now, but still having some flexibility and going to Mexico and even visiting family in the US from time to time, not having to live there. You know, I get that experience. I remind myself why I left. You know, I have to say, you know, everything's easy there, though. I have to say, you go to the store and you get anything you want, anytime you want, 24/7. Right here, you're like, well, stores close at 3 o'clock on Saturday, so people can spend time with their family.
You mean you can live without Amazon delivery? Yeah, I don't even have to go to the store anymore.
That's true. Well, I can order from Amazon here. It just takes 30 days to get here. Anyway, it's just different. And you know, the last thing I'll say on this is, you know, in the US, I was caught into it. I was buying I like technology, so I had the latest iPhone or the latest computer or whatever. I like that stuff. And here I don't. Right? It's harder to get. I'm appreciating what I have more. I make the decisions more carefully. So if I'm going to get something, I make sure that it's going to be the right thing and something I want to keep for 4, 5, 6 years or whatever the time frame is. And I think I appreciate it more. Yeah, it seems like I do.
Well, you hit on freedom. Number one was spectacular. And for me, that starts inside of me. I'll never be free if I'm trying to dance to the tune of people around me from the external world. And so that's first and foremost. And then really having a sense of stewardship. This is what I am the steward of right now, whether it's a tin can or my laptop or whatever it is. And I'm the steward of this possession. Let me honor it. Let me not revere it necessarily, but let me get the most out of it. And the economy of I can't go to Walmart. I can't go to down the street and pick up 6 versions of what I might need. So what do I really need? I really like that sense of conservatoriness, if you will. And being able to live in a culture that does that, that demands that that doesn't take that for granted in terms of my possessions for my comfort, my health, right, my nutrition, my whatever. I'd like to open this up. We have about 25 minutes remaining here, and I see a waiting group of audience here that I'm going to open up to your questions or your comments in terms of questions for Mark, questions, reflections that is coming through for you as you're listening to us banter here for the last half an hour or so. So who would like to share, or who has a question?
I'd love to jump in. It's so good to hear your story, Mark, and hear your reflections, Peter. It really touches me right now where I am in my life, and the freedom to let go of all the never enough stuff, you know, for me, never accomplished enough, never thin enough, those kind of things, the freedom that results when I shift and really focus on fully accepting myself the way I am now. It's just profound, and it's bringing tears to my eyes right now as I say it, because it's such a shift from all the messages from around us, and living from the inside out, and that the freedom that results internally is so powerful for me, and part of that is letting go of perfectionism, of wanting to be in my soul self, wanting to be in that free, core self, and living from there all the time. And I love how you both are pointing out, and that's part of letting go of the perfectionism, of not expecting myself or pressure, or pressure myself to not be human. It's like, that's the human experience. We're imperfect. And I love this chapter. I love the way it's written, and I love your story, Mark. It just all really resonates with me right where I am in my life right now. So thank you so much. It's powerful.
Thanks, Kay.
Thank you, Kay. Well said. Well said. Yeah. Anyone else? A question or comment, or how this impacts you in terms of being okay with yourself? Just okay right now. Just okay. I'm okay right now. Nothing's coming through. At least I don't see it on a chat box or anything on my screen here. So, how do you? Oh, we got.
Well, I'll just ask one. I'll just ask. Can I ask a boring question, Mark? Thank you so much for showing up and sharing a little bit about your story and your life. It's boring just because I'm curious. You pulled me in when you said you're collecting citizenship, something I've managed to do since I was 26. So bravo. And I like your rationale, because I definitely did not have that big of a rationale at 26. I think I was just playing Monopoly, which was like, how many things can I collect and keep? Illegally, I might add. Of course, as Americans, we're only allowed one. But where in Mexico are you?
So we were living in Ensenada, which was not too far from San Diego, has basically San Diego weather,
Okay.
which is near perfect. But now we're looking at something warmer. So we're looking, when we go back, we're going to look for something near, probably in the tropics, probably closer to Puerto Vallarta. So that's where we're looking at with a, and I know I'll probably get some pushback on this, but with the global cooling happening on the planet, with everything getting colder and more extreme, the places that I'll want to be in the coming years are warmer places. So
okay, well, I can't encourage you I can't encourage you enough to spend a weekend in San Miguel de Allende. It was 91 degrees last week, and that was unseasonably warm. It's cooler right now, but generally the entire year is 78 degrees.
Yeah, I heard it's perfect because it's up in the mountains or up in the hills and everything. Yeah, we're gonna look. We have friends in Ajijic, and we're also gonna look at Guanajuato and Querétaro, which is near San Miguel. So,
Yeah, Querétaro is like living in a town if you like that. Yeah, for sure. And where in Uruguay? Because that's
so
fascinating.
we live in what they call the Switzerland of South America, or the Monaco or South America. It's a beach community called Punta del Este.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And it's where Brazilians and Argentinians and other people, typically with money, come to summer. Many people have second homes here and they come to spend the summer.
Oh, interesting.
So we live right outside that town. And since it's off season now, we're now in the fall. So the leaves are turning where I am. And so most of those people go home. So Punta del Este goes from 200,000 in the summer to 20,000 in the winter.
Wow.
So it's a huge population difference. So it's much quieter right now, and a nice place to live, and quite a few expats. There's a huge migration from Europe and from the US and Canada to Uruguay and to Mexico right now. So much so that Mexico is having, they told me 20 times the amount of migration to Mexico than they had just a few years ago. So it's gone 20x.
Wow.
So trying to even talk to the migration people is difficult because they're processing in 2 weeks what they used to process in a year.
Oh, wow. Not to be unkind to Mexican work ethic, but that must be very overwhelming for them.
Between that and what I call the COVID excuse, where people use it as an opportunity not to work too hard.
Yeah, any sentence that starts with "due to COVID," and I go, "Oh boy, here we go."
Right. How long will it take?
Yeah. Hold your breath.
And I'm not trying to diminish people's experience and the deaths and all of that, but at some point it just becomes a rationale for not doing what people should be doing.
I will do us all a strategic solid and pull my question into a holistic foundation for the question at hand, which to some degree I believe Peter set up so beautifully, which was, how do we show up as ourselves every day, leaning into that and knowing that our self-knowledge is enough. And so I'm curious, how do you feel changing your world so dramatically and your environment so dramatically has better supported you being the fullest extension of Mark?
Mm-hmm. There's a question. Wow.
She's a properly trained coach, Mark.
Apparently,
yeah,
master level for sure. Oh, wow. Do you know, I've kicked off the training wheels, I guess, is the simplest way to answer that question. In the US, everything is clear, easy, known. At least it was for me, growing up there, access to everything and here the training wheels are off. It's like, well, if I need to go buy something, there aren't many superstores here, as simple as that. I mean, literally in Uruguay, if you need screws, there's a shop that sells screws. If you need nails, there's a shop that sells nails.
A different one. A different
shop. No, it's a different shop.
Yeah.
And, it's that kind of thing. So, which is great for small business, just really great, because people can, they can have these businesses and they know their product really well, but it's a whole different experience. It's much more social, right? You're like, oh, hi, tell me about your nails. How's your family? It's different. And then we had to build everything up. So we live out in the country, a little bit out of Punta del Este, and internet is harder to get here. So I had to figure that out. How do we do that in a reasonable way, right? And and how do we, I don't know, how do we live out here? What's the same and what's different? Yeah, they have, we right now we're renting a nice home. It's nice and quiet. It's comfortable, but we don't have access to all the same things, right? And so it's adapting. It's adapting to either different food or different availability. It reminds me, I grew up in New England, and when I grew up, we didn't have like vegetables and fruits of every variety and every color all year round. And literally, when I grew up, if it was out of season, you didn't get it. You didn't get it till the next season, right? That's the same here. Broccoli is pretty much out of season, or almost out of season now, because we're in April, which is like October in the Northern Hemisphere. So certain vegetables are falling out of season. So we just have to adapt. And, maybe that's what we're supposed to do, I think, from a health point of view. I think if we look, at our history as a human race, we've been, eating what's around us, right? And that we, if potatoes were popular this time of year, we have potatoes. If broccoli was popular, we'd have broccoli. And there's a certain cyclical timing in life, and I think in our bodies and in the world, that I think is part of my readaptation. It's like realizing that just because everything's always available in some part of the world, that there's something to be said that this time of year we have shorter days and longer nights, and we're going to have warmer foods and more starches, let's say, and in the spring we're going to have lighter foods and something that's more light, salads and such. So it's sort of following that. So I would say that's another sort of perspective to consider being in the cycles of life. We're a little closer to it here. It's still a developed, it's not a third world country, Uruguay. I would say it's somewhere in between, right? It's got some first world conveniences, and so whatever we want to label it, but it's somewhere in between. It's more advanced than most of Mexico, and highly influenced from Europe, but still following those cycles are very interesting. So, did I answer your question?
Yes, very varied. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for the question, Jen. Yeah. Much more of an organic approach to life and rhythmic. Sunny, you've had your hand up for a long time and must be getting tired up there, so we'll go to you.
First, thank you, Mark, and Peter as well. Mark, I just love that expression where you are able to accept and really literally be in love with yourself. My question is around that, because even I don't know if it is still there, but at least in the book you had written that the fear comes back in some form. And so my question is around that. One, when you were able to accept, what was it that allowed you to accept? Because there is a courage which you need to accept. And then I was also thinking, is it a push which you have to do? Does the courage involve pushing yourself, or is there a force? And then I was, thinking myself that whether love, acceptance by love is force at all. So I just want you to maybe elaborate when you say the fear comes back or now it does not, and what really allowed you in the first place to accept? Was there force or was it all love-based acceptance?
Again, multiple part question. I like it. Oh, that really brought up a lot for me, Sunny. Wow. I would say it started with, it was almost like an ultimatum, and that's probably too strong, but let me explain. The alternative was self-destruction. I felt like if I didn't do something or believe something different, I was going to go into this circle, this deep despair of self-destruction with drugs, alcohol, food, nihilism, whatever, self-destructive behaviors. And I had already started down that path. I had. And I needed to make a choice to step out of that. And love was clearly a very important part of realizing, well, I don't have to fully love myself today, but can I just love myself a little bit more today? Can I just love something that I'm doing today? Can I just do like one thing that's better today? Can I just, not have that drink? Or can I just go for a walk? Or can I just take 20 minutes and just be quiet or whatever? At that point, it was just like, how do I move up? How do I take that rope and pull myself up? And I didn't do it all alone. I had friends and family and that were there at different points in that journey to help. I think the good news today is, people, certainly in the Western world, find it easier to be different, to be accepted as different. For gosh sake, we're all different. Hello. But some of the more like obvious differences, let's say, whether it's cultural or gender or whatever the issue is, that people used to make a big deal about, it's less of a big deal. So that's great. That's going to help other people have, their journeys will be different. So I would say that, yes, I think at this point, I'm not trying to, just pull myself out of that hole anymore. Now it's, how do I further embrace who I am, just as I am, but still wanting to strive to be better, right? So there's that balance that, I just want to say, hey, I'm good enough, so I don't have to do anything. That's never been me. And I guess I don't have to worry about that because I'm always trying to, I can't sit still. That's sort of part of my personality. I'm always have to be doing something or thinking something or planning something. But what I'm learning here is okay. And now in Uruguay, in Mexico too, there's a theme here. It's called tranquilo. And people say, be tranquilo, right? So tranquilo just means calm. Be calm, relax a little bit. People don't often get crazy, like emotionally, supercharged. It happens because Latins, do that. And everybody does that. And, there is the Latin temper, if I'm going to stereotype. But in most cases, people are just like, hey, don't worry. Just take your time. If it takes an extra day, that's okay. Right. If whatever, so there's that theme that I'm trying to embrace more, because part of that means being present in the moment. We had some friends over for dinner a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to be with them. I just wanted to be in that moment and experience whatever happened, conversation, laughter, seriousness, whatever it was. And so I think we're going from, to wrap it up, it went from this if I don't change, I'm going to die, right? I'm going to do something that really hurts me, at least, to, wow, and now I get to be me and get to continue to learn who that is, and to try to spend more time enjoying being tranquilo, being connected, being present.
Wow.
Thank you, Mark.
So beautiful.
Thank you, Sunny.
Yeah, Sunny brought, for me, and my path was very similar to, I think, Mark's, from a standpoint of self-destruction, a path of self-destruction. So whatever aholic you happen to be, and I had several, because I couldn't just settle on one of them. But workaholic was one, and I was literally driving myself into the ground, quite literally. And that was a self-destructive path, because I didn't know who I was, and I was still trying to come up to the standards of everybody else around me, my society, my family, my employer. And so addiction This is Peter Rudding's definition of addiction, not Mark's, not anybody else's, but mine. Addiction is trying to substitute the vitality of life that I don't have or I'm not experiencing, being my core self, true self, authentic self, positively brilliant self, however you want to articulate that piece of it. Not being that, and trying to substitute a vitality that comes from a high of being a workaholic, shopaholic, alcoholic, drugaholic, sexaholic. And the more and more that I honor who I am at the core, those things are less attractive. I get out of the habit. I have a new habit of loving my life and what I get to contribute, as opposed to getting a false and temporary high from, again, blankaholicism. So when you're talking about that, Mark, in terms of that destructive piece of, going downhill, if you will, really triggered all that for me, and remembering the angst, the isolation, the dishonoring of who I was. And at that point in time, I couldn't articulate any of that. I was just, well, that's just the way I am. That's not who you are. If you're listening to this right now, you are a creation of your creator, however you believe that or name it. You are awesome right now. You always have been. You are now. You always will be. My question as a fellow human being and having a sense of free will is, what do you choose? And it's up to you. And what new ecosystem do you want to put around you to support you in being and allowing you to be and honoring and loving who you are, just the way that you were created. So we got a couple of minutes remaining here. Any other words of wisdom? Charles, I've seen you chat in a couple of chat boxes, thanking people for their questions. Anything that you want to add to the agenda for today?
Well, it's been deep, Mark. Thank you for sharing your positively brilliant story, your outrageously courageous journey. What I've been reflecting on is Mark, as you were reading your story and describing what you were going through and the influence in your life, my ambassadorship of CoreSELFie quadrupled. And I was writing in the chat as you asked me to engage, Peter, that CoreSELFie.com is the antidote to self-destruction. And as Mark was reading, I was thinking, what will the world be like when more of us know who we truly are, where our parents know who they are, where our friends know who they are, so they don't be that negative influence in our life. I mean, it's just, yes, I'm hopeless optimistic and going to stay that way, damn it. And all of the questions were positively brilliant. Yes, you may have had some good coaching. I don't know where you got that, but just, here it is, Earth Day, Earth Month, Earthism, and what you described for me, Mark, is more conscious, sustainable living. It's like, what a beautiful example that you shared with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, thank you. Rajita, you've been quiet there and absorbing all of this. What's going through your mind?
I'm actually absorbing all of it. You're right, Peter. And thank you, Mark. I mean, it's so inspiring to hear you. I was also thinking about my own journey while I was listening to you. And the question is, how do we actually accept ourselves fully? At intellectual level, I think people present here or our fraternity of minds, we know that we have to accept ourselves, otherwise it's the other way. You just can't live. But I think it's so important to have some practice, anything through which you connect to your own self and which like CoreSELFie, of course, is one. It could be meditation of any kind. So it's so important to know who you are. And then, of course, having the courage bit by bit, baby steps, one day at a time, to actually live your life the way you are. And it's a gain and a loss, both in a way, because so many people filter out from your life and so many other kinds they join you. So it's a celebration, I think, of existence altogether. Loving
Yeah.
myself, being myself every moment.
And
So-
we'll cap it with that then, because we're at time. And thank you, Rajita, of celebrating who I am and remembering how to do that, or having some sort of a mechanism, whether it's prayer, meditation, walk in the backyard of Kay in the forest, going to Uruguay, and celebrating the people. There are many, many ways of doing that, as probably as there are people on the planet. Mark, I want to thank you especially for being who you are. Thank God for you accepting that and shining forth and being a representative and example of what a human being looks like when they are celebrating who they were created to be. Hip, hip, hooray for you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for allowing me to participate today.
So with that, I will wish you all a goodbye. God bless. Namaste. Love all of you.
Namaste.
Be yourself.
Ah,
Everybody
thank
else is taken.
Bye-bye, and thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all. Wonderful
Bye-bye.
to be with all of you.
Thank you again.
Peter, do you have a call right now?
I do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.